come in the name of peace.
Well, this is complete bullshit.
What the fuck are you talking about?
They didn't give a fuck.
They didn't give a shit. I can't say fucking Zaporizhia.
Up yours, Joe Rogan. It appears that Zelensky is not that scary, right? And even Lex Fridman, who calls himself Aloshenka, whatever, the most uncharismatic podcaster in the world and somehow very influential and very successful, took an interview from Zelensky. They spoke for 2.5 hours or something like that. Another half an hour, Lex Fridman decided to talk about himself. But anyway,
more power to him. It's his channel. He can talk about himself all the time he wants.
And also extremely important podcast, because not only that, quite a popular media, more popular than goddamn, I don't know, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, Fox News, or whatever. But also a lot of new topics out there and some new angle to Zelensky, isn't it?
No, definitely. First and foremost, well, congratulations to President Zelensky for entering the ever elusive and impossible to get into, how do they call themselves? Conservative, alternative, underground, right, left, to the right, business-centered, technocratic, pro-Trump, MAGA, fuck yeah, sphere of media. So congratulations to him. Very good.
That was not bad, yeah.
Yes. But you know what? It took some time, but finally got there. And you know what? It was a success because, well, if you were to ask me what was my favorite part of this interview, and it wasn't the stuff that you would think, like Zelensky swearing wasn't the most amusing and important part of that interview to me. For me personally, it was probably for the first time in Ukrainian history where a person of this magnitude, of this position, the most important politician in the country, actually called Budapest memorandum for what it is, a piece of shit.
Consultations. Ukraine holds consultations if its territorial integrity is violated. And everyone should be in consultation. Everyone must come. Everyone must meet urgently. USA, Britain, Russia, France, China. Did anyone come, you ask? No. Did anyone reply to these letters? Official letters, they are all recorded by diplomats. Did anyone conduct consultations? No. And why not? They didn't give a fuck.
Literally, nobody ever said, well, that memorandum sucks and people who signed it are just, bad people who do not adhere to their words. But here we go. Finally, President goes they didn't give a shit. He called these countries for what they are. Hypocrites, and that nobody gave a shit about Ukraine, and this is why it sucks. And I think it's a big, big win, because finally we, call things for what they are.
Yeah, he was very candid, and it felt like he was finally free, because before that he was constrained by, he had to have good relationships with Biden, right? He had to have good relationships with Olaf Scholz. Both are probably, go into their pensions, I guess, whatever, in a month, and Olaf Scholz a little bit later. But now he doesn't have anything to be scared of. Now he can talk freely, and he did. He was really candid about how in the beginning of the war he called the countries before the full-scale invasion started. He called the countries and asked them to implement sanctions now, not after they kill thousands of Ukrainians and rape Ukrainian women. Do something before horrible things start.
But I asked only for one thing, primarily from the United States. If you are sure, if you have the evidence, if you talk to him and he tells you that there'll be an invasion, if all this scares you. I only asked for two things. Send us weapons, or better yet, strengthen us with preventive measures so there would be no war. It wasn't the weapons that I was asking for. I asked for sanctions. Intimidate him. Please don't say that. If he comes, if he crosses borders, if he kills, we're imposing sanctions. Well, this is complete bullshit. Sorry, but really,
Even though, we should like switch all gears a little bit and talk about Lex Fridman here, because he was a star, but from another standpoint, and everyone noticed it. I like literally all the YouTube comments, all the top YouTube comments talking about how Lex Fridman was the most unprepared, unintelligible, what's the word when the person is not empathic, like at all, zero empathy, and he's like, what the hell are you talking about, man?
Yeah, literally, like, suggesting, President keeps telling him, like, listen, dead people, dead kids, the most important thing in the world is killed, taken from you. And this guy's like, yeah, okay, it's okay, like, all of that, dead kids, blah, 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 whatever. But what about, forgiving Russians and living happily ever after? Well, have you thought about this? Is it possible for Ukraine? And it's like, Jesus Christ, man. For the last 2 hours, it's been like, dead kids dead, children, dead, bombs on civilian cities, kids dead. But what about, turning the page and living peacefully together as two nations? Well, I mean, what the fuck?
Let me ask you a question. What do you think? Will there ever be a day when the Ukrainian people forgive the Russian people and both peoples will travel back and forth again and marry each other?
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
Yeah, it's weird, and it's weirder even given the fact that Lex Fridman has started his conversation. One of its, parts of it was about, well, let's talk about World War II, because there's nothing else that Western political commentators like to discuss most when they talk about Ukraine. It's just World War II all the time. Well, let's look deeper into what actually caused the problem. And, they were talking about all these things that, I mean, they matter to a point, but I think nothing fresh ever really came out of it. The only thing that I think was a missed opportunity for Zelensky is when Lex Fridman asked him, well, what about, peace talks, negotiations, or ceasefires and all that. Zelensky should have asked him, and Lex Fridman has stressed enough in his interview and everywhere he could that he is in fact the grandchild. His relatives were killed by Nazis and all that.
Speaking of mass graves, I was at Babin Yar yesterday. A large part of my family died there. In moments like this, such a place serves as a stark reminder of the profound historical gravity of the Second World War.
He should have asked him whether Lex Fridman would like to, make a peace deal with Hitler, right? Like, that was a missed opportunity for me, because I don't think Lex Fridman still kind of understands the concept of, peace talks with people who try to murder you every day. There's a problem with that, really.
Yeah, and Lex came with agenda there, and his agenda, what he said was his agenda is peace.
Always worth trying over and over again to find the path to peace. I believe that Presidents Zelensky, Putin, and Trump should meet soon after January 20th this year and give everything they got to negotiate a ceasefire.
I mean, I thought he was just an FSB asset or something like that, because that's what Russians do, right? They kill you and then they're like, hey, you don't want peace. You don't want peace. Let's make peace, and you're like lying there in your blood, dying there, and the world is like, yeah, why the fuck don't you want peace? Take a peace deal.
Come in the name of peace.
Come in
President
the name of peace.
Zelensky once said.
Exactly. So why don't you do that? Either he was really unprepared, or he is naive and just really, really, really not intelligent.
I have a theory, Mark.
Yeah.
I think he's as dumb as a stump. That's what I think. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't think there is tinfoil hat, just stupid.
But Zelensky mastered that. Zelensky gave the best answers throughout the whole interview. Zelensky answered again and again, like, listen, man, here's why it's not us. And one of the most, we hear it all the time, and we try to explain to people that it's not Ukraine who should seek peace, because Ukraine seeks peace by default. We want peace. We don't want to die. We don't need this war. Nobody in Ukraine wanted this war to start. Not a single person. Even the most pro-Russian people didn't want that. Russia did that, and it's on Russian responsibility to end this. And it's Russia who should seek peace if they want so, and they don't. And we tried to explain that, and people seem not understand it. Like, hey, why don't you just give up your territories or something? And we're like, it's like we did already. And that's what Zelensky tried to explain. And this is a great moment in the interview when he talks about 2019 negotiations. It's funny thing that when there was an election in 2019 between Zelensky, then candidate, and Petro Poroshenko, then president, Zelensky actually promised to end the war soon, and it was one of his promises. It kind of should remind you something, and everyone in Ukraine was skeptical about that, because how could you end the war? He was like, yeah, we'll sit with Putin, we'll negotiate with Putin, and we'll end the war. So 2019, Zelensky becomes president, and he goes to negotiations, just like Donald Trump wants to do now. So Zelensky goes to those negotiations, and he tells his story, and it's incredible how it's incredible detail that Putin actually didn't know shit about the deal they were going to sign, because he wasn't going to adhere to any part of it except for one part, the gas negotiation part, which Putin knew everything about.
And so I stepped into it, and I was definitely well prepared. But he wasn't. No. He was not deeply involved in the process. What border? Where is it? How long will it take to disengage troops? And why wasn't he involved? You want to know? Because he wasn't going to do any of this.
Like they were not going to adhere to the ceasefire. They were going to just continue shelling, killing Ukrainians, etc., etc. It wasn't their goal. But I mean, now we spend like 3 years explaining this concept of Russia not adhering to the deals they signed to, right?
And you know what? They like to exploit these caveats of, legislation and whatnot. It's, Russia is accusing Ukraine of genocide, or Iran accuses Syrians of something, or North Korea accuses America of some crazy stuff. Like, they have learned the lingo, they've learned the terms, and they're like using it to legitimize whatever they're doing, because they think if they speak, and it kind of helps when they speak these, terms used by the civilized world to explain certain processes, they somehow think that it's, they tricked us now, yes? Now we call, Ukrainian lost genocide, and, now everybody, will believe us because we use their language. We will accuse them of the things we're doing, and it will bamboozle them completely, and somehow, all of this will somehow, disappear. It's a stupid manipulation, and I can't believe it, but obviously some people still believe it, and Lex Fridman is obviously one of those people, because when Russia says peace deal, they obviously mean just extermination of all Ukrainians on the occupied territories, and what Lex Fridman hears is actual peace deal, which is a complete fucking nonsense. But this is how, when you teach them to speak your language, they start to use it against you.
No, he actually like, let's not forget that he actually proposed this to Zelensky. He said that, hey, why don't you just give up territories in exchange for peace? And Lex Fridman in his video showed the map where he has my hometown, for instance, Zaporizhia.
В НАТО взять Украину минус Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, and Khersonskие области и Crimea.
Which he couldn't pronounce. He's Russian. It shouldn't be that hard for him.
He suggested that they conduct an interview in Russian because his Russian is so good, yet he can't say fucking Zaporizhzhia. I love that. Yeah.
So his Russian is horrible. I mean, like, and Zelensky points to that.
Your Russian isn't that good either.
And he shows the map where Zaporizhzhia is occupied, Kherson, which was liberated, is occupied. They are not occupied right now, and they are not going to be occupied probably anytime soon, if things will continue as they are going on right now. But I mean, like, he clearly just like brings some picture from Russia today, from Russian government. It's like, hey, why don't you agree to what Russian government proposes you? And what's the funniest thing? Russian government isn't even proposing that.
They
it's
just
not
make
on the
shit up for
table.
Ukraine at this point. It's like
Every time, every time there's some like anyone asks Russian representatives or Putin or anyone there and asks, hey, do you want a ceasefire? Do you want a peace deal or something like that? And they're like, hell no. Why the fuck we don't want that.
Yeah.
But then there are like channels, there are bots, etc. They just say, hey, there's a peace deal and Zelensky doesn't want to go for a peace deal or something like that. It's just fucking
dumb. It's just fucking dumb. Just call it for what it is. It's fucking stupid. But I guess just stupid people exist now and they rule the world, and now we have to kind of adhere to that. So you know what? There was a lot of criticism towards Zelensky when he actually agreed to visit Lex Fridman's podcast because, well, I mean, the common opinion is that Lex Fridman is a Russian asset, so like nothing new there. But then, you know, ourselves here in this podcast of ours, which you should also subscribe to and leave a comment underneath of what you think about all of this stuff. And did you fall asleep twice while watching the interview as I did yesterday? I mean, no offense, but like it was too long and the AI is just wow. Nevertheless, people here in this podcast...
By the way, we use the same app. So
Yeah.
if you want to sponsor us as well... No problem. We will
all
tell
of this is not real
it was
English.
a great AI dubbing. It was perfect AI dubbing.
Yeah,
I loved it. I loved it so much.
Anyway, the point is, we on this channel, we're like, meh, he should totally go. Let's see what happens. I mean, can't get any fucking worse, can it? And it kind of ended up being a huge W and a huge L for Joe fucking Rogan, who just like lost his... I mean, come on. Lex Fridman, as Mark has fairly said, the most uncharismatic person in the entire fucking universe. I'm not even saying blogger, I'm just saying person. Just like, look at this guy. Just like, even on his picture of Zelensky, it looks like somebody photoshopped his head on somebody else. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. It's like President Zelensky's cardboard cutout is holding Lex Fridman's cardboard cutout. It's a joke. Nevertheless, this fucking guy somehow got the, you know, MAGA fantastic 3... you know, politicians in his podcast. He got what? Benjamin Netanyahu. Obviously, I mean, duh. The most alpha Chad male, you know, person for MAGA people. Then he got ultra mega Chad President Zelensky. I mean, say whatever you want. You may not like him. All of that, but Lex Fridman got the Alpha Chad Zelensky, and he also had the king of all Alpha Chads for every single person at MAGA. I mean, he got Trump, right? He got him there 4 months ago. And then, I mean, the Trump, the most important person ever that exists. And he got Javier Milei. I mean, it's a fucking bingo all over the place. Like, all of these 4 horsemen of Chadocalypse are just...
I love this. It's not,
yeah.
This is how we should name our podcast now.
4 horses of Chadocalypse.
Just Chadopolis. Chadocalypse.
Anyway, so 4 horsemen of Chadocalypse, and who did fucking Joe Rogan get? Elon Musk smoke a doobie, some idiot who like saw aliens somewhere, and I mean, come on, fucking.
Oh yeah,
sucks.
and an interview was great, and like even though Aloshenka Lex Fridman was trying.
I mean, he's like Lex Luthor. Is that what he thinks about himself? He's like. Yeah, it's like, Alyosha, it's fine.
Lex Agent 47, some shit. Anyway. What's that look? Anyway. Who needs podcaster in a suit? Anyway. It's because he's intelligent and probably bought some fake MIT professorship or something like that. Anyway, yeah, I mean, like it's a great podcast. Lex, even though Lex tried to push some really weird narrative and even like let himself talk first 30 minutes or 15 minutes and then 30 minutes in the end. Even though everything putting aside, President Zelensky answered to most questions MAGA people had to him, right? He answered about corruption, and he answered it really well, right?
Listen, what we call corruption, and in some state of the world is called lobbyism. But this does not mean that there is no corruption there.
I mean, it's hard to most Americans to disagree with that. Hey, in some countries, they call corruption lobbyism. And I mean, MAGA chads trying to fight insider trading in Congress all the time. Couldn't disagree with that, right?
Yep.
He answered about the Russian language. He spoke Russian language a little bit and schooled Lex for not knowing it.
Yeah, kind of like, isn't that what they all want? To be schooled by some Chad all the time? Isn't this like what they all want secretly? You know, just like, yeah, Daddy, please correct my Russian because.
Yeah, he told them about the peace. Like MAGA person with a rifle in his small town somewhere in Texas wouldn't want to make peace with someone who raped his wife and a child, right?
I guess
Right?
so.
Common sense. I mean, it's
Yes.
not. It's just it just was like some common sense talking. People should do more of that. Maybe if fucking Kamala Harris had that, maybe she would win. I don't know. It's much better than those fucking CBS, NBC, whatever interviews.
Yeah, literally they just gave Zelensky a platform to speak for 3 hours and Lex just sat there for just like as a piece of furniture. And I mean, this is literally better than some of the MSNBC, CNN,
much more-
Fox
much more
News and
useful,
mainstream
yeah.
media. So
Even-
yeah,
even-
please support watching shitty YouTube content and
Yeah.
incel/MAGA podcasts. We will gladly
should-
find ourselves in this fucking turbulent sphere.
Should we talk for another 2 hours or something?
You can just sit there and pronounce shit wrong, and I can just like fuck for 30 minutes, and I think we're just gonna make it happen on YouTube.
Zaporizhzhia.
Fuck!
Anyway, so yeah,
Subscribe to the channel, guys. Let's
have anything else
give
to
us... No, literally
should
nothing
we
else.
should we talk about the fact that Lex Fridman doesn't know when Second World War started?
I mean, to be fair, nobody really knows, right? They all say it's like... They always say the wrong date. They always say well, it was 41, right? No, it's fucking 39. Get your shit together, assholes.
Thank you, and see you, I guess, somewhere in the future in
Bye.
2025. Bye.